You going, what the fuck? What am I?
Oh, no,
what's
no.
my producer doing?
I don't feel this. I don't feel that way at all. Because with me, that whole thing was an amazing honor. And as an American, the president says he want to talk to you.
Dude. Well, you're you know what I call you now?
What?
You're like Dick Cavett. Or,
Oh, yeah.
That's how I look at you.
Right,
one of the Smothers Brothers. Kind of a hip.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Guy.
Well, that's a
Conversational.
fucking great thing to be.
Yeah, but you were impressed.
Dude, I was blown away. I was fucking blown. I woke up excited for you when I read that. Seriously.
It was the only time you were excited about Obama.
That's exactly right. Trust me. He belongs in a garage. Listen, no, I was so excited for you. And I actually said this. I said to my wife, Maron, who's a friend of mine,
Yeah.
I get a friend of mine interviewing the first black president, and they're talking about my old roommate, Louis C.K. It's not the greatest country on the face of the earth.
It
Are
is,
you
right?
shitting me?
That's so funny. And the fact is that, we go, I want to talk about your house soap, and maybe we'll work up to there.
All right.
Well, so you just got a good deal on something.
It's so funny. We were living in Tarrytown, me and my wife. We moved up to Tarrytown, and when Tough Crowd's on.
Right.
That's 15 miles south of where my present house is.
Right.
And but my wife's such a financial genius. We lived in this condo right near the opening of the Tappan Zee Bridge. You've probably been by it a million times.
Right.
It's a complex. And we were there for a couple of years. Tough Crowd was on. I had saved a lot of money even before then.
So you were not only a regular, but you were writing on the show?
I don't think I got a writer's credit.
You were there every day.
You're gonna laugh at this. Yeah, I was supposed to be on. They had contract for us, and I was scheduled to be on twice a week.
Yeah.
And after the second or third episode, I get called in by Comedy Central, and Colin, he has a serious look on his face, and everybody's talking in these cryptic. I'm like, what the fuck? Well, you've been making a lot of Jew jokes, and you don't do it with a smile on your face. This is an actual meeting. I go, what are you talking about? And they go, I said everybody was making Jewish jokes on that episode. Yeah, but you weren't really. I go, I want to see the fucking tape. Give me the tapes.
Did they show you the tape?
Yeah, I brought them home. People were laughing their ass off. But I was saying some over-the-top shit.
Yeah.
But so it was a big contract. Colin said to me he had to keep me from getting kicked off the show completely.
Uh-huh. So now you know who really runs show business. Yeah, that one turned out to be true, I guess.
Yeah, at least in Comedy Central. It was so weird. Colin's like, I remember he goes, I don't want you to be that guy. And I'm like, there were all these cryptic. I didn't know what they were talking about. Right. I go, what did I do? What does that mean? You don't mean the guy.
The guy who gets fired for
I guess so.
Jokes?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they were jokes. They were just that. It's the same shit we were doing at the Comedy Cellar table.
Yeah.
And that's the whole idea of
that was why people loved that show and why it was probably a threat to everybody is that it was jokes. But,
absolutely.
But it still got a little hairy.
And you know what? I know when I'm on stage, people have told, sometimes I don't say it with a smile on my face. You know me. I'm way too intense for my own good sometimes.
Well, it's weird. But you know when you cross the line.
Oh, fuck yeah. But it's fun. It's fun. And sometimes I don't think there is a line. Your line might be here. Mine's 500 feet down the road.
Right, but you know when it's not funny anymore.
I have trouble. I really have trouble going, was that just mean or was that funny? As I get older, I have even worse. Well, you notice you get jaded?
Well, I don't know what happened to you. I don't know when the anger, became first and foremost. You know what I mean? Because I started with you.
I mean, you were angry too.
No, I was, and I think arguably not that funny sometimes.
But you're always on the right side of the joke.
I don't know if I was. When I look back at it, there were definitely jokes I did at a different time where it was meant just to see if I could get away with it. To push the buttons.
Right.
But if I really think about them, there's a couple of jokes I did where I'm surprised people didn't come up to me and go, yeah, I don't know if that's wrong-minded.
Well, but my stuff sort of goes against, the showbiz.
Right. But
I lean a little to the right, and that's not always very popular.
Well, that's right. That's true.
Showbiz. In the showbiz world we live in, but
you were always aggravated.
Yes, and then I know a little this,
Oh yeah,
before the show, you get bored after being at the Cellar for 12 years.
I start cocktails.
Yeah, that brown liquor makes me fucking angry. Took me 2 cancellations to realize that.
That it was the booze.
I have to watch myself.
Oh, really? Because your brain changes.
Without me, and nobody would point it out to me. Everybody's
That's hilarious.
Afraid of me.
Yeah, right.
Nobody would point
you get
out.
a little intense.
Yeah,
well, remember, I think we talked about this once before, but probably a long time ago on the show. I did my first paid gig in Boston opening for you. In Algonquin.
In Maine, yes.
At Captain Nick's.
You had just come off rehab. You'd taken a few years off.
Well, no,
right?
I was in L.A. and I came back to Boston where I went to school to start comedy over again. And then I think it must have been. I wonder if it's even before I came in second in that riot. And it might have been right before me. Barry Katz was throwing me some bones.
Yeah.
And that's when I met you. And you were up. Yeah, walk into that. I drove up to Algonquin.
Yeah. Captain Nick's. I went by there a few years ago. I think it's still the sign was still there.
Really?
Yeah.
It's still open.
Yeah.
And it was in the bar area. I kind of remember it. You walk in, and the bar's on the left, and the stage is right there when you walk in on the left.
That's exactly how I remember it.
Right?
And you were all nervous because you had to do look, what's funny
is hour.
How about you open for you? Now you're interviewing Obama.
I know. That's wild, right?
I get Joe Matarese on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, I still the funny thing is the week after I did Obama, I did Rich Voss. I made sure that.
What the fuck am I worried about?
Nothing. You don't need to be worried about it.
He provided a nice buffer with Voss.
Well, it was funny because what am I going to do?
I love Voss.
Yeah, me too. I interview Obama. So what, has everything changed? Wait, how many things?
Well, I don't know about you. I thought you might be. You've really changed. We're talking about my personality.
Right.
You've gone the other way. There was a time when you and I had such negative energies, both of us. You'd walk into the Comedy Cellar, and literally a rain cloud would form over that table and start pouring on other people, and you and I would just laugh.
I know it was true. They were going the different directions, but I don't think they were essentially the different directions. I think that both of us are angry anyways.
Yes.
And the idea of having politics to sort of run it through is nice. But I think
that's like throwing gas on it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I just think that we're we've got that attitude, and we can't hide it. Certainly,
that's what I like. And you and I, even though probably opposite ends of the spectrum politically, but we never really had a beef.
Never. It's terrifying. The idea of really having your anger pointed at me. I was like, it's great. He can point it wherever he wants, just not at me. I'm not going to do it.
I don't know. I'm mellowing out.
Age gets you, man.
Age gets you.
Ugh,
you can't. You know what I mean?
Horrendous.
Even now, coming down to the FDR, I was like bumper to bumper. I actually have a John Denver best of John Denver I put on now in my car. I swear to God, I downloaded it on my phone. So when I get in traffic,
to calm you.
I swear to God, I put on Colorado Rocky Mountain High and
Sunshine on My Shoulder.
Sunshine on my shoulder. I swear to God, it's the funniest fucking thing.
Have you really?
It is. Well, yeah, I'll be singing along with it on the Colorado Rocky Mountain High. Then I'm like, get the fuck over! You're in the left lane. Get over.
As well as it helps. But so let's go back because I remember when I came back from L.A. I was a little fucked up. I was trying to stay sober, and then I go there because I remember you were sort of like, hey, you did a pretty good job. You were supportive. You were nice. I think you had a chick with you. I don't remember who the hell that was, but you were doing your thing. But it was all about tuna sandwich, and.
Holy shit, you're right.
Why don't you put some more? Why don't you
mayonnaise
put
on
sawdust in it or whatever?
Yeah, broken glass and
dust.
How the fuck did you remember that through that?
I remember jokes, dude. But there was a story about you that I always it's an inspiration to me. Because I don't know if it really happened. It was one of those. It's one of these road myths that you made a bridal party cry.
Oh, I've made a couple bridal
bachelorette parties cry.
Yeah. I got banned from the Comedy Works in Denver.
Right. That's where it happened to me.
Yeah. Don't sit the bachelorette party up front. I got banned from there because I guess the woman runs it.
Wendy, yeah.
Yeah, and I called the table. I gave him a chance. I always give the bachelor, you got to give him a little rope.
Yeah, right.
Get drunk.
Right.
And then they just kept yelling shit out, and so I snapped on them.
Bad?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Call them a bunch of drunken cunts.
Okay.
And next thing you know.
They're crying?
Yeah, some chick gets upset and she's bawling. And she's bawling with a fake tiara on her head. Get out of here! And even worse, Mark, at the Punchline Sacramento.
That's the one I heard.
That's the one.
What happened?
That one got
Walk
really.
me through it.
Well, I was in no mood, even for me. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I shouldn't be out tonight. I don't know why. I was just totally not in a good mood.
And you had to work. And was there a full house? That's a pretty
full house.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, for 2 shows Friday night.
Big room.
Yeah. And there's a bachelorette party once again up front.
But you're sitting off stage and you see them, and you see the middle, and you see the bachelorette party. Before you even go on, oh, fuck.
They were ruining the middle's act.
Right.
I was getting so pissed. Nobody was doing anything about it. And they were ruining his act.
Yeah.
So on my way up, on my way up to the stage, some chick's like, take off your shirt. Yeah, and I'm not even to the microphone yet, and they're yelling shit at me.
Yeah.
And there's no doorman doing anything. I get up there, I go, look, shut your mouths. You ruined the last guy. You're not going to fucking ruin my act. Back and forth, back and forth. Haven't even told the joke yet.
Yeah.
And some girl goes, you're a fucking dick. This is before I haven't even get to the microphone.
Yeah.
So then I snap on her, and another girl throws a beer at me.
Yeah.
Like a half a cup of beer.
Yeah.
Like right on my shirt.
Oh, my God.
So I would go nuts.
Yeah.
Even for me, I go crazy.
Like you're frothing, you're bent over.
Bent over, right over. My face is an inch from the table, just calling the filthiest
Yeah.
things, wishing cancer on them.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything I could think of. And all of a sudden, other table, some guy standing, a table of guys gets mad at me.
Right.
Like, you can't call girls that. I go, you defending these fucking whores?
Yeah.
And they start screaming at me. Now half the room, this is how bad
chaos.
I was.
It's chaos.
And I'm taking blame for this.
Yeah.
Even though they should have been thrown out before I got on stage.
Yeah.
Now it's chaos.
Yeah.
I have tables yelling at me.
Right. Because you didn't get them on your side at all.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Which I've learned since.
Yeah.
So literally, they're screaming at me. I'm screaming at them. Other people screaming at me. Right in the middle of it, here's the manager's idea for a resolution. He runs up and hands me a shot to calm me down, like a Rumpelmint. And I do it, and it gets even worse. Now people are leaving. Now people trying to leave the club. When there was 220 people, I think.
Yeah.
It was a packed house. It was comedy was booming, like you said. And when all the mayhem died down, there was 45 people there.
Oh, my God. Mass exodus.
Exodus.
You stayed in the saddle.
I stayed in the saddle, did my set. They were loving it. Here's the funny part. So the second show, between, I'm hanging in the back of the room, and people are being seated for the second show, and I hear people, the waiter would come over, the show hasn't started yet, and I'm standing in the back, and then I'm hiding behind the corner, and I hear people going to the waiter, hey, we heard the headline, it went nuts on the last show. Is he like a real fucking crazy guy?
Because all the people piling out, see him waiting online in the hallway.
Yes, there was a line to try to get their money back. They saw people coming out of there screaming, and what was scary was, even after the second show was over, the guy comes out and he goes, we have to have security walk you back to your hotel, because those guys, that first table of guys that was yelling, they were in a pickup truck. This is a couple hours later, waiting for me to come out of the club.
That place is in a mall. It's upstairs across from a fucking mattress store.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then you got to walk downstairs to the parking lot.
I had to go to the mattresses.
Strip mall. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're exact. It was. They had the security guy to bring me back to the hotel.
We got to walk across the street.
Like you said, you mellow out with age. And I've had 20 bachelorette parties since, probably. And I say to them, and they've been pretty good.
Yeah.
I think even clubs are evolving in that way.
Right.
But again, they still sit them up front. But I say to the girls now, I go, I'm flattered you came out to see me.
Right.
Even though you probably didn't know who the headliner was.
Right.
But I always say, why aren't you at Chippendales, eating whipped cream out of a guy's ass?
Sure. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Thunder Down Under, whoever the latest gay guys are dancing at.
Yeah.
So I go, but I'm flattered you came to see me. I don't know why. Why would you come? Your best friend's getting married, which means you're not going to see much of her for the next 50 years.
Yeah.
So this might be the last night you're out with her, and you're going to come to a place where you can't talk.
I don't really know where
the
tradition was established. I don't know why they keep doing it.
I think it was Barry Katz management that established. That's how he gets
the beginning of your career.
Yes.
No, but I get that. I think what they're really looking for is they'll make fun of her. So they expect us to do what we're going to do, but they don't realize that we fucking hate them.
Right.
And it's not going to be that fun for. Some guys may handle it better, but I'm like, oh, this is going to be a problem.
Yeah. I am flattered they came out.
Right, but I think that you and I, what you realize as you get older is it gets sort of exhausting.
Exactly.
To fucking to do this defensive fucking
yes,
and it actually feels better just to do a nice show for people that want to laugh.
Yes,
but I think you and but I didn't feel this about you when you first started. I went into it defensively. When I started doing comedy,
insecurity,
of course.
Yeah.
But I was sort of it was always a fight to me before it even started. Before I even got up there, I'm like, oh, they're not. I'm done. For no reason, so it was always a fight.
Yeah, you can talk yourself out of a good show.
Yeah, and but I don't think I knew how to have a good show. The fact that I was doing regional gigs in the Boston area was crazy. Me? I watch you, you're speaking their language. You have the right accent, and I'm like...
Revere Beach jokes.
Yeah, but when you started, though, I don't remember you from Sam's, played against Sam's and shit.
I hung out there.
Yeah.
Well, Nick's was my home club.
Right. So, but when did you start though? Like 87?
Yeah, 87. Like the spring of 87 was
right.
Like
so we were working a year in. That's the weirdest thing about those
gigs. How much.
Well,
that's how much stage time there was.
Yeah, because they had all those gigs everywhere.
Every restaurant and pub. I'll show you my book from my first year. Over 300 nights. Like B.B. King, for Christ's sake.
Right.
Every restaurant and pub. On a Monday night, I'd be at a Mexican restaurant in Franklin, Mass.
Frank's in Franklin.
Frank's in Franklin.
With Drunk Frank.
Thank you. Next night, I'd be at the Holiday in Nashua, New Hampshire.
I remember
on
that
Tuesday.
one. Yeah.
Wednesday, I might be back at Stitches. Thursday, I'm in Providence, Rhode Island, at an Italian restaurant.
Yeah.
Friday, I might be back at Nick's. Saturday, University of Massachusetts. It was every pub and restaurant in New England, ski lodge in Vermont. Remember all these gigs?
3 of them. Mother Shapiro's. BK Denny's.
BK, how do you remember?
You're
like Louis. You're like Louis.
We remember certain things. Somehow you convince yourself it'll be nice. It'd be nice up there in the winter. We'll go up. We'll hang out at the nice hotel. It's a nightmare. Mother Shapiro's is a fucking nightmare.
Mother Shapiro.
With that weird Jewish dude that ran the place, and there was that weird mixture of skiers and fucked up locals.
Yeah.
Well, I was there once, and some guy, like, basically, there was a group of fucking creepy-ass dudes hitting on my fucking, what became my wife, Kim. And I'm like, I'm no fucking fighter. I'm sort of like, let's just go. Get out of here. We were mostly working for Barry Katz's Boston Comedy Company.
That's right.
I didn't work for the Connection much. I worked for Mike Clark. I worked for Barry.
You and me both. I didn't work for the Connection either.
Hardly. I still remember Mike Clark's phone number. It's so fucked up. Like,
oh my God.
I still remember his phone. It was, you remember? It was, he had the
Yeah,
answering machine.
yeah.
But so we'd go, and you never knew what you were driving into. Remember Lemonster? What was that? Pancho Villa's in Lemonster?
Pancho Villa's.
Right.
I did it 2 nights in a row for some reason. A guy was yelling. Second night, he was yelling my punchlines. A guy came back to see me. He's yelling my punchlines out from the balcony. I went up in the balcony with the microphone.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Went up in the balcony. It was one of the first places that they had no wire on the thing. And went up there, and I'm like, who's yelling my shit out? And the guy raises his hand. So I'm interviewing him in the balcony.
Oh, my God.
Imagine yelling my punchlines out. And I'm upset at a club like that.
Remember Banditos? There was Banditos
Yes.
and Fall River. But like...
Your memory is killing me, dude. I thought you smoked a lot of weed.
No, I haven't done anything in a long time. I have selective memory. I can't remember some people's names that I've known for 20 years.
You can remember Banditos.
But you know why? And I realized this later because I had it with the Comedy Store. It's like where we were abused. It's like traumatic experience.
That's what I was going to say earlier. I know. You guys
it's
like Louis
like
too.
repressed
It's like a
memory.
childhood rape. You're not going to forget that face.
Kinda, right?
Mike Clark's phone number is
That's
tragic to you.
Well, it was like I didn't know. I knew that I had to do the job, but like it's sort of fascinating to me, given my temperament, my mind, that's where I learned how to do comedy was going into regional New England and doing it. And those not easy audiences. And
they weren't.
And I was a freak.
We didn't know how good it was for us. You know what I mean? To work that much that early in your career.
Well, that's how we learned. We
didn't know though.
But we were able to skip over the fucking host spot. It was a gift.
That's right.
You're going to be a local opener that can't get bumped up to middle and then never get worked as a headliner.
Right.
I mean, that's what happens to those guys.
Right.
A lot of them do fine, but we literally had to do the job.
Yep.
You got these guys coming in from out of town or the colleges. The weird thing about the fucking colleges is that when we were doing colleges for Barry, he was, giving Anthony Clark and Eddie Regine the big money on the ticket, and we didn't know better.
That's exactly right.
It's like you go out and do the 20 for this in a fucking lunchroom, for $100, and fucking Anthony's walking with $5,000.
Yes,
we didn't fucking know.
No, we didn't.
We're just let's have the gig.
That's Barry, man.
Right.
Always with the.
He had me on his podcast, and he literally let me shit on him for an hour and a half. He loved it. That's the weird thing about
Literally?
Barry. Well, no. But I guess that's true.
We have it on film?
Yeah. No, but he likes you when you bust his balls because he knows he deserves it in his heart. So he gets a bigger kick out of being, busted on than anybody I've ever met in my life.
He's always loved me, right? Because he was my first manager.
I remember the time that happened. It was like a mafia thing. Like one day you get this call and everyone's brought into the basement and he slides the papers in front of you.
This is how it went down with me.
Yeah.
This is my favorite Barry Katz story because it sums up his management style and how I was at Nick's. I went on in front of Dana Gould. Again, I'm only doing it a year.
And Dana Gould's like 17.
Yeah,
at that time.
And brilliant and
amazing.
And I'm up there doing raw stuff because I'm new. I'm probably being dirtier than I should be or whatever, and destroying probably for all the wrong reasons, right?
Right.
I come off. Dana Gould goes on and starts bad mouthing me on stage. Now, I've only been in the business about a year and a half. I don't know. I'm in a suit jacket, right? I still have my college football muscles.
Yeah.
People hate me just for that because this is a nerd business.
Right. Not then it wasn't. Not at Nick's.
Not at Nick's.
Yeah.
But I'm wearing a suit jacket. It fits me like a T-shirt.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm waiting for Dana Gould.
Yeah.
Because he's bad-mouthed.
Yeah, yeah.
As new as I was, I knew that's one thing you don't do.
Right.
You don't bad-mouth
the comic before you.
So he comes off, and he's coming down the stairs, and I'm waiting for him. I literally...
so he's walking out of the building.
Yeah, I grab him, push him against the wall, in the hallway at Nick's. And I go, what are you doing? He's like, well, what are you talking about? I go, you fucking... You know, saying I was hacking and just shitting all over me. Yeah. I went, no, I don't start fucking trying to bull. I watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right? So then you know, I scared the fucking daylight out of him. I go over to play it against Sam's later that night.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there with Kevin Flynn. Barry Katz comes up to me. Now, Barry has signed Kevin Flynn already, Jackie, everybody but me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He had already signed a few of my friends.
Right.
He comes up to me. He goes, hey, Dipaolo. And I hadn't even met Barry yet. I heard what you pulled. I heard the shit you pulled, like, with my client, Dana Gould.
Dana was with him?
Yeah, at that point. So I go, Barry, do you want to hear my side of the story? He goes, sure I do. Call me on Monday. And hands me his business card. So I call him on Monday. He ends up signing me. Is that not?
It's crazy.
Is that not? That's like something you'd see in a movie.
Right.
Like a sleazy agent.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I didn't sign with him. Like, it was all, he did it all at the same time. He made this weird jump.
Yeah.
And he brought me into one of the rooms in the basement there where he was running in his apartment, right, in Alston. And he's like, you know,
yes.
he gave me the pitch. He had the paper right there. And I said, look, I don't know what it means or what you would do for me, but I can't do it. I don't know what it means. What do you want me to sign? And I think in that run, he signed like Al Ducharme, Marcy Rose, Ed Regine, Louis C.K.
Yeah.
Like he signed that whole first crew.
Yep.
Anthony Clark, because that was his big, I think, chip was like, Anthony's my guy, you know, like, and he had everybody, and it took all of you a little while to get rid of him.
Did it ever? Did it ever? We moved. I moved down to I moved down to New York with Louis C.K. He was my roommate. Barry got us an apartment on the Upper West Side.
Yeah, because Barry opened the club here, the Boston Comedy Club, and the idea was he's going to run his guys through there, and then he had that magical apartment.
That's right.
So
bunk beds.
Yeah, bunk beds. You and Louis, but everyone came in, right? Yeah. There's definitely some stories in that apartment.
And then me and Louis had it after people started coming. It was me and Louis. Oh, was that fun? Looking back on it.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, those are the good times. We wandered around New York City, me and Louis. Louis had no concept of how to use money. And we went out, we did the Punchline in San Francisco, me and Louis, for a week. Yeah. I've told the story on many... he goes, I'm going out, and we had a net worth of probably $1,200 between us at that point, right?
Yeah.
He goes, I'm going out to get a VCR. This is how long ago. I'm going to get a VCR so we can watch movies all week at the hotel. He's gone for like 4 hours, comes back with an $800 trumpet.
A trumpet? That's the trumpet? Yeah.
Yes.
Because I remember him buying a trumpet.
Yes.
Right, yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
there's a couple of trumpet stores.
We weren't even making $100 that week between us, I don't think.
He bought a car out there, too, to drive. Like, he would buy cars.
That's right.
Places and then
leave them on the side of the road.
Right.
That's why I love him. He's the real deal. He was screwy Louis, man.
Yeah.
And we laid in bed and we used to play this game. I took a shit so big, and then you do an analogy.
Right.
I took a shit so big it was worth 20 electoral votes. I took a shit so big I sprained an ankle, and we would lay there till 5 a.m.
laughing,
just belly laugh. It was like a good comedy exercise. You know what I mean?
That's a funny bit. It's a funny because that doesn't exist anymore. You two in bunk beds like kids.
Yes.
Doing jokes.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
No,
and he had
those are my
motorcycles.
fond memories. And he had a motorcycle that he almost got killed on.
And then he had cars here that he would wreck and park, and then eventually they'd just be taken away.
Somebody stole his Honda. Remember, he had a Honda Prelude when we first started. And somebody stole it and left it like 2 blocks from where he was living in New York. Oh, and he does a joke about somebody stole his watch out of the car.
Yeah.
And he saw the guy wearing his watch in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And he goes up to the guy. And he goes, "Can you tell me what time it is?" And the guy looks at him, and Louis goes, "You got to push the button." That's one of his early bits.
So we all did at that time, because Barry was sort of Barry always helped me, but that was when you guys were in New York and they were shooting Caroline's Comedy Hour here.
Yes.
So we got to do that. We got to do the MTV weird 10-minute things. There was a lot of basic cable shit we all did.
Yeah.
When and why did you decide to go to L.A.? How old were you then? Because I remember there's this weird memory I have. I was visiting in L.A., because I didn't really move there until 2002. So I don't remember when you were there, but I was driving somewhere and I saw you walking across the street from a coffee shop or something in a mall somewhere, and I said, "Hey, how's it going?" And you were just sort of like, without even provocation, you're like, "I got fucked." I know that Tony Danza was involved. I don't remember what.
Oh yeah, I had a deal with Tom, but I didn't get fucked there. I actually made some money.
It must have been before. Like you were just sort of like alone, walking.
That is perfect.
And you were like just like without even like, how you doing? Fuck this place. Like right out of the gate. I was like, holy shit.
I get really bad memory. I went out there twice. I went out on my own, like in '93 for like a year.
So the first wave. So you're like, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And you leave New York.
Yeah, '93 and '94, and I got
with no deal, just to go.
No deal, but Rich Super would just sign me with Irving Arthur.
Right.
Which is a good agency, and he was my agent.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I went out there, and like an idiot, I find the place on Venice Beach, a basement apartment. I leave my girl from behind, Nancy, from National Hampshire. Who Arsenio Hall had me on a show like 3 times in 6 months. Had I moved at that point? I'm so bad with dates. The first, he had booked me. I knew I was going to be on a show.
Right.
And my manager said, yeah, you got to move out
Not
there.
Barry, though.
It wasn't Barry. I forget who talked me into it, but I left my girlfriend behind. I was going to be a star.
Yeah,
like an idiot.
Right.
I get out there. I don't know anybody.
Yeah.
Rich Super's not around.
And you moved to Venice?
Venice.
Because
Rich was out there in Santa Monica.
So that's for Nick Dipaolo from, where are you from, Brockton? Where is
No, Danvers.
Danvers?
Yeah, North Shore.
North Shore. There you are. The entire world of minorities and freaks is at your doorstep.
That never bothered me.
And it doesn't. I don't think it does really bother you.
I people. I got again from Tough Crowd. I said a lot of shit to Patrice, who was my friend.
Yeah.
And I got pigeonholed. They're quick in this business. If you say
they're quick in this culture.
Let's throw that on you.
Yeah.
But you're right. I get out there. It was a culture shock. Yeah. But I'm living in a basement apartment. I want my girlfriend back, Nancy. I miss her.
Yeah.
I literally call home. I kept calling their house. The father's answering at like 3 a.m. I'm like, where's Nancy? She's done with you. I cheated on her before we left.
Oh, you
New
did?
York.
Right.
So she's like, no.
You're calling jealous or sad?
Both.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, he goes, no, she's out with a guy, Brian, down the Cape. And he goes, Nick, you're not a bad guy, because he was a wild man when he was younger.
Yeah.
Doesn't make you a bad guy, but I'm crushed.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in Venice Beach.
Yeah.
Mark,
Alone in a basement.
I went 14 days without taking a shower. Fucking sitting against the wall. I got my wife beater on. I'm eating pizza by myself. Evan Grant. Do you remember Evan Grant? He worked in Brian Steinberg's office. Kind of a good-looking kid.
Oh, yeah. I do
Luckily,
remember him.
he was out there.
Yeah.
And a real player with the chicks.
Right.
He always.
Yeah.
He saved my life. It was like that movie with Vince Vaughn. What is it? Something.
Swingers?
Yeah,
No.
Swingers.
Oh,
it was just like that. Remember they kept dragging.
Favreau character?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was that guy.
Oh, really?
I lost like 20 pounds. I was running every morning on that.
On the boardwalk?
That boardwalk out in Venice Beach, like 6 miles. Mm-hmm. I fucking was ripped. But I wasn't eating. I was depressed.
You look good, though.
I looked like John McCain when they pulled him out of the Vietnamese prison. I hadn't shaven. I weighed like 11 pounds.
Yeah.
I would just totally fuck I'd go home. I'd fly home and try to get her back. I'd drive up to her house.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
with
it was
flowers or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember even my mother going, they picked me up at the airport, my parents. My mother goes, I wish you'd act like a man. I act like a fucking man. I go, that's how I get into this problem in the first place. my father's laughing. My mother's almost crying.
Oh, my God.
So I had a horrible. And then I moved back to New York. And then went out to.
But so that was it. So when you were out there in Venice, it just didn't. Nothing happened. You did Arsenio a couple times.
I did Arsenio a few times.
Got depressed.
And Evan Grant, thank God, he was in my complex, and he used to fucking save my life. And one Sunday, I'm walking, just what you just said. I'm walking down the sidewalk with a miserable look on my face. Evan Grant's coming the other way. I step in dog shit. It's like 108 degrees. The beach is closed because of gang activity.
Yeah.
And I go, I'm out of here by Wednesday. Fucking watch me. He starts laughing. Sure enough, I packed all my shit.
That was it. Dog shit and gang activity.
Fucking, that was it, man.
Yeah.
It just, nothing was happening.
So you flew back and you tried to get the girl back. You didn't get her back.
Couldn't get her back. So I come back to New York and,
what the hell what were your parents thinking? Like, how many brothers and sisters you got?
I got 3 sisters and a brother.
So big
I'm
family.
in the middle.
All Italian, all the way through?
No,
No,
I'm half Italian. That's the other thing. And French, Canadian, and English on my mother's side.
Oh, your dad's Italian?
Yeah.
And so you guys, you were a football player?
Yeah, I played, I was a captain at high school. Me and my two buddies were tri-captains.
Yeah.
And I went up to Maine, and I tore up my shoulders in high school.
Yeah.
Busted up my shoulders, had surgery after. Walked on at Maine. I was supposed to get a scholarship. That's another heartbreaking story. To University of New Hampshire. That didn't turn out. So I walked on at the University of Maine and earned a, partial scholarship.
Yeah.
And played up there for a couple of years. But
Did you finish college up there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But best time of my life.
Was it?
It was there or BU. I couldn't decide where to go.
I was at BU.
Oh, you did go to BU.
I went to BU, yeah.
I didn't go because I
want to get out of town?
Yes, the distract. I go, and good. It was a good move because up at Maine,
I've been up there. What part of Maine?
I couldn't even focus up there on books, though.
Yeah.
I can imagine if I went to BU.
No way. What the hell? What part of Maine?
That's up by, it's called Orono, but it's right now, it's a little north of Bangor.
Yeah, far.
240 miles from where I grew up.
Yeah.
Fucking best time of my life. It blew high school away. I would do it again in a second. Fondest memories of my life, University of Maine.
Sure, you got all the freedom in the world to do whatever the fuck you want. And I guess you were playing on the team?
Not till I went out this spring of my sophomore year for spring football. And like I said, I walked on. They didn't know who I was, and I sort of opened some eyes, you know. Jack Bicknell recruited me, a guy that coached Doug Flutie at BC.
Yeah.
He was up there. I walk in there after having shoulder surgery, right?
Yeah.
I had atrophy to about 170 pounds.
Yeah.
I get the balls finally to walk into his office and go, "You recruited me, and I said, I want to be part of the program." He literally goes, "Well, you can carry water and shit." He knew that would blow me out of the arm. What an asshole. Literally, he goes, "You could carry water buckets." I'm like, I fucking excused myself politely and walked out of there. But he was right. I had a sweatsuit on. I weighed about 11 pounds. It's still Maine football, but the guys are fucking big.
Yeah.
And doing steroids and shit. And so, I was in no shape to play football. Took a couple years off, went home, got strong over the summer, and then a new coach came in, and I walked on, and it was fun.
It's weird when you think back of the fun times. But then it sounded like you had a good time living with Louis and shit.
Oh, my God.
But when did you decide to do comedy? Why?
It's the same reason I think a lot of us. Well, I was always attracted to it.
Yeah.
And I've heard other famous people tell the same story, but it was true. My parents would go, "You got to go to bed downstairs, watching TV downstairs." I'd go up and leave the door open a crack to watch Johnny Carson's monologue.
Yeah.
I was attracted to it.
Yeah.
And my buddies were funny as hell.
Yeah.
Boston kids.
Yeah.
My buddy Bob Murphy was David Letterman before Letterman was Letterman.
Right.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Went to work at a think tank, this kid. Graduated first in our class.
Yeah.
Funniest motherfucker I ever met in my life.
Yeah.
Another guy, Greg.
You still talk to him?
On occasion.
Yeah.
On occasion. That's the other sad thing. We go our separate ways.
It is really weird.
It bums me out. But that's what, So I was always attracted to the stand-up to the stand-up thing, and I'd see Jay Leno on the Merv Griffin show and go, "That guy sounds like me."
Yeah.
And it turns out he's from Andover, which is, 10 minutes from where I grew up, right?
Yeah.
I go, "Wait a minute. I think I could do this." And then Bob Murphy, my very funny buddy, dragged me into Stitches one night, in the mid-'80s, to watch Sweeney.
Paradise.
To watch Steve Sweeney at Stitches.
Stitches, interesting. Wasn't really his club, but yeah.
Yeah, Sweeney Meany.
Yeah. The Sweeney and Meany show.
Night.
That's right.
And it
Wednesdays or something.
We were blown away. Sweeney actually picked on me. Look at this good-looking giddy.
Yeah.
Tore me into asshole. And I was fascinated.
Yeah.
And this is why I think I believe in God sometimes.
Yeah.
I was a barback at Stitches before I was a comedian for like 6 months. Mm-hmm. I was in awe of Steve Sweeney.
Yeah.
I was afraid of him. I was so in awe. It was like Ted Williams to me, right?
Right.
I just moved to an apartment in Boston with my other buddy, Tony. I get drunk on St. Patrick's Day by myself. My buddy was working Faneuil Hall. He gives me like 11 beers. I wander out of it. It's not even 1 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I get on the fucking T, and I get lost.
Yeah.
I'm over by Huntington, by Northeastern.
Yeah.
I'm wandering. I'm literally staggering down the sidewalk, and I'm thinking about comedy and Steve Sweeney and Lenny Clark.
Yeah.
As I'm thinking that, who comes stumbling out of a bar?
Steve
Sweeney.
So I guess he was drinking at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he goes, "You're the fucking guinea barber." He goes, "Come on, let's go for a drink." Dude, it was like Elvis. It would be you being a kid in love with Elvis, and Elvis comes out of a bar.
Right.
I told my parents, I go, I don't know about God if he exists or not.
Right. That day.
Yeah. We go and he drink 2 Guinness and whatever the fuck. I drank with him all afternoon. Now he goes, I want to go to Avenue B. It's getting dark. We get in a cab. We go to South Boston.
Yeah.
Southie. He wants to score some coke.
Yeah, right.
I'm in the back of the cab with Steve Sweeney, my idol.
Yeah.
Dude, I was hard as a rock. I couldn't believe what was going on.
Yeah.
We're in the cab. He goes, we pull into some neighborhood. It's getting dark.
Yeah.
This is on St. Patrick's Day night. They beat up Irish people on St. Patrick's Day night. Never mind, an Italian kid. Yeah. I wouldn't get out of the cab. Steve goes, here, hold my watch. I go, why do I got to hold his watch? I was so naive. I go, why am I holding his watch? Turns out it was like one of the... He gets out of the cab. He's not out of the cab 10 seconds. 3 kids come around the corner, 3 guys with leather jackets. You couldn't have made a more stereotypical... 2 of them had red hair.
Yeah.
And they start chasing Sweeney up the street. They want to beat the fuck out. I go to the cab. Cab driver takes off. I go, what are you doing? You can't fucking leave. He said, fuck that. I'm not going to get killed in this.
Yeah.
And then Sweeney... I didn't hear from him the rest of the night or day. I call Stitches. They didn't know where the fuck... Comes in. I come in on Monday night. I'm working. He comes in. He punches me in the chest.
Yeah.
Like physically punches me in the chest. He thought I told the cab driver to take off.
Oh my God!
I was almost going to get a fight with my idol. I was ready to fucking.
Well, I'm glad he lived. You know, like what the hell happened?
The last I saw of him, I looked out the window of the cab. Honestly, he's sprinting, and he had shoes on, not sneakers. He's got shoes on, and 3 guys are chasing him.
It must have been an old deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There was some history there.
Yeah, right.
There was some history.
They're like,
there.
there's that motherfucker.
Right away, they came after him. And he's the godfather of South Boston, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
How's that for a story, though?
It's great.
He comes out of a bar. I'm lost in Boston. I'm over by Northeastern. What the fuck's he doing?
And did that make you decide to do comedy?
It sure in hell didn't hurt.
Yeah.
You know, and I used to try to be funny around him, you know.
So, all right, so then you start out and you start doing the open mics there?
Yeah.
Like Stitches and shit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
George McDonald.
George McDonald's. Comedy Hell.
Comedy Hell.
Yeah.
I pulled up. I was drunk at my parents' house. My name was in the hat, I think, and they told me I was on.
Yeah.
I almost got in a fight with this kid, my roommate. I was living with in Alston, Anthony Seymour. He's an eye doctor now.
Yeah.
I met him up at University of Maine. He's from Augusta. Now he has practice like in my hometown.
Oh, really?
In a house in Topsfield.
What's the name of the town again?
Danvers.
Yeah, Danvers, yeah.
And so he confronted me one day. He thought I was the funniest guy alive. And he goes, and all these open mics, comedy was booming. He goes, you're a pussy. We almost got into blows about it. He was questioning my manhood.
Right.
He goes, you could be making a living, fucking, you know. We literally fucking almost got physical. So sure enough, I put my name in the hat at Stitches, and they're like, yeah, you're on Sunday night. And I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah, that feeling is the worst. We got 3 days or whatever.
Exactly.
A day, and you're like, oh, God. It was horrible. And when you did Sam's and stuff, you'd get booked like 6 weeks out. You're doing 5 minutes in 6 weeks, and then like for 6 weeks, you're like, oh God, it was fucking insane.
I went on at Stitches. My first line ever was an ad lib.
Yeah,
off the cuff. That's when George goes. That's when I knew you were going to be funny.
Yeah.
I was in a sweatshirt and jeans.
Yeah.
And I go up and I followed a guy in a tuxedo.
Who was that?
I don't know. So I went on after him, and I go, I was trying to figure. I didn't know what to wear.
Yeah.
All afternoon, I was like, what do I wear in my first comp? I go, I don't know. I didn't know I was going to follow Mr. fucking Saunders. That was a tuxedo local, and it got like a nice laugh.
Yeah, yeah. And you're like, I'm in.
Then my next bit was about shaving my sister's back or something. That went in the toilet. And then I did Archie Bunker being blown by a great white shark.
What? Well, that's pretty creative.
How horrible.
That was the seed of the Nick disposition.
But George said that. George goes, when you did that ad lib and it got a laugh, it was the first thing out of your mouth. He goes, I saw some. And then George would be on the back mic. Remember, just making fun of other open micers?
That's right.
How about Bob Nickman?
Nickman I still see with the hat.
Funny.
He was so funny. He wrote and did a lot of TV work. And he's a sober guy, and he runs the Yuckaholics every year. Him and Scheidner created this show that every year happens, huge show to benefit halfway house and stuff.
My favorite Bob Nickman joke, and he's the first guy I saw call a table of women cunts on stage. Mm-hmm. But my favorite.
It's a big moment for Nick. I'll never forget that day. I was like, if that's okay, I'm in.
I'm in. How do I get good at this? How do I get good at this? But one of my favorite jokes is he goes, I'd suck a dick. Not if it was like attached to a guy, but if it was like hanging off a wall. And remember he used to take the hat off at the end? And he'd have pigtails? He was a bald guy with pigtails.
Right.
His big clothes.
Yeah, that was the big physical
But he was
clothes.
brilliantly funny. They would kick me out of the green room at Nick's because I was the only one not doing blow. Gavin and Lenny would show up, Kenny, and they go, hey, rookie, get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Because I was.
We don't want you to see this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember. Well, I used to do it. Yeah, but remember, like, there was the green room, but then they'd close the place down. And then you'd sit there in the main room at a table with everybody.
In the main room.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all dark. John Panette, I did coke once before I went on stage. John Panette, the late, great John Panette, gave me a line of coke.
Yeah. And that was the only time you did it?
Before I went on stage.
Right.
Oh, I'd do it when I was at the Palace nightclub trying to pick up whores from Rivera. You had to do it.
Only in that situation.
Trying to pick up hairdresser from Somerville. You had to fucking give her a couple bumps. But, God, I get chlamydia 19 times out of the Palace. But yeah, no, I only did it once before I went on stage. Panette gave it to me. This is a true story. I'm up on stage. I'm not even up there 5 minutes.
Yeah.
My upper lip keeps getting stuck to my teeth, and I'm tripping on my punchlines.
Yeah.
And I have my hand in my right pocket, and all of a sudden some guy like in the third row goes, "Hey, relax up there." I looked down. I was jiggling my car keys in my pocket like 100 miles an hour.
Hey, relax up there. That's the best heckle I've ever heard in my life.
Relax up there.
He's just like, dude, really, slow down. We want to see the show.
I hadn't done much coke at that point in my life. To go on stage.
Oh, no,
and I'm new as a
Yeah,
comic.
terrible.
It threw off my timing.
It's a bad drug for that, unless you're one of those guys. Unless it works like Ritalin. You know, like I was also like that. Like if I did coke, my eyes would bug out and I talk too fast. And I'm like, I'd see footage of me. I'm like, oh my god. And you're thinking like, I'm nailing this. You know, it's like a fucking disaster.
Now I take Advil PM.
There you go.
Slow me down.
Yeah, but like that's so funny. Hey, relax up there.
Guy yells, "Hey, relax up there."
He's being supportive.
It wasn't mean.
Yeah,
it was,
yeah.
and I looked down and I hear my right hand doing this.
I think that's the best crowd heckle I've ever heard in my life.
Nick's was a rough roam at times.
Oh my god, dude! The one time I don't know how the hell I managed to get in with them, but I did. They worked me, and
Because you're a good comic.
Yeah, but like the first time I went up there for the guest spot, it was a really big lesson for me. Like I was waiting to go on, and you're just nervous because like the thing about me is like I couldn't be more different in my mind than that audience. A very specific audience.
They were
white, sweaty, Irish, tough guys. Yeah. Like from all over.
Yeah.
They would come in from Revere, from Saugus, wherever.
Yeah.
And I was already at odds. And Leary's on. Just like he was one of those guys where you didn't know whether he was killing or not, but there's a lot of energy going on. Like so, Leary's just like
nobody
hammering.
more committed.
Yeah,
that's what I learned from watching him.
Yeah,
he could be dying, you think he was killed.
Exactly. Yeah. But so whatever happened up there, it was Leary for 20 minutes, 15 minutes, and then they bring me on for my 7, and I'm thinking like I'm just gonna jump into his energy. So I start out like that, like I do like the first 40 seconds, at this pace, and I stop, and they're just like, "What is happening?" And it just tanked. It was horrible. It's like 7, 8 minutes of like that never-ending pain. And I get off, and Dominic's like, "Hey, how you doing?"
He couldn't even hide it.
Do you remember when it blew up? Like somehow, like Nick's had the main room, and then the dance club. They made a second show.
Yeah,
and you could do like 9 shows in one night at Nick's.
Yes,
you run downstairs.
Yes,
it was crazy.
Yeah, you do one up, go downstairs, go back up, downstairs, never leave the building, and make a nice chunk.
Yeah, big chunk.
What a money-making machine that was.
And then they opened up all those other rooms.
Satellite rooms. The one in Saugus is still there.
That was actually a good room in Kowloon.
Yes.
Like, it could really be good. It was like playing a theater. That was the first time I used the word cunt on stage, and it was bad. I used it right out of the gate, and it was a long half hour, that half hour.
I had a guy open his coat, show me a gun. I was making fun of his wife.
Oh, really?
Big Italian guy. I don't know what I was fucking thinking.
Did you stop?
Big, sweaty Italian. Oh, yeah. He was sitting right in front. He goes like this, real quick.
Yeah.
Saw the butt of the gun.
Yeah.
And I went, "Hey, no problem.
Love her. Good for you. How long you been married? Congratulations."
I didn't mean that about your dress looking like
like a circus tent.
Yeah, a circus. Exactly. Nice leopard print.
All right. So you come back to New York and you get strong again, and then when do you go back to LA? Because
95.
Because that's when it really got bad. It seems, right?
No. I went out. David and Christine Martin were handling me. Brett Butler. I just landed her big thing.
Yeah.
And I was being handled by
the
same management. Yeah. And they were like, come out. Audition for Brett, show.
Louis was with them too, right?
Yes, he was.
Briefly.
Yeah.
For a few months or whatever.
I remember Christine Martin going, "Louis is such a liar. He lies a lot." I go, "What are you talking about? I don't really know."
Louis be the first to say that he did.
Yeah, exactly.
Then. Yeah.
So I went out, and no, it was pretty good. We all thought we wanted to be in sitcom world, But
that was what we were trained to do. You become a headliner, you get a voice, and then you get your show.
Yeah, what better way to get that voice out there than be a sidekick on Brett Butler's show?
Is that what you did?
I played like a worker at her place.
Oh, yeah?
I did like a half a season.
Wow!
I was there when the whole thing blew up. I watched it
You watched it unfold?
Oh, my God. It was the funniest thing you've ever seen.
Yeah?
I still love Brett to this day, Brett Butler.
Yeah.
Borderline genius insanity.
Yeah.
One of those people.
Yeah.
I actually took the picture on the back of her book, her autobiography.
Oh, yeah.
I took the picture.
Yeah?
I went to Alabama with her to
Yeah.
research her book.
Yeah.
You know, she calls me up. This is when I was still living in New York, and she had just become big.
Yeah.
Or I had an apartment. I was staying at somebody. I can't even remember. No, I was living on the Upper East Side.
Yeah.
She calls me at 1 in the afternoon. I'm laying there watching a football game. How'd you like to open me in the Westbury music tonight? I'm like, yeah. And who was the guy? Do you remember the Italian guy? He had a heroin problem. He was very funny. Did a stint on SNL real quick.
Oh, Vitale.
I
interviewed him.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Who loved Vitale.
It's great.
But he had a drug problem,
Yeah.
and he couldn't make it that night. So
Yeah.
I opened for Brett Butler.
Yeah.
And then flew out to L.A.
Well, Danny was probably trying to be clean. He probably just couldn't make it because he was too nervous. Like, I gotta. But on a
No,
plane.
you're right. That was exactly the story.
Yeah.
The pressure sort of broke.
Yeah.
But I ended up becoming friends with Brett and on her show. And she flew me. She calls me when I was living in L.A. She goes, I got Tom Cruise's Learjet. I'm flying to New York. She was doing something in New Jersey. Next thing, I'm on Tom Cruise's Learjet with Brett Butler, flying back to the East Coast to open for her somewhere.
Wow, that's great.
Isn't that fucking crazy?
So you did a lot of dates with her?
I got a little taste of
that.
showbiz.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just enough to tease me and keep me in the stupid business.
Yeah, and I know. Sometimes you feel that way, don't you?
Oh, you shouldn't. I should.
No, but I came out I didn't even have that much success. You know, like I never got into that rotation at all. Like this only happened out of desperation. You know, like.
Oh, dude, let me tell you something. I love doing this.
Yeah.
Radio's still my favorite thing. I like it as much as stand-up.
Oh no, definitely, because you have the freedom. You know,
nobody heckling you.
Yeah,
you can be funny conversationally. Right?
So
you're an inspiration.
Oh, thanks, buddy. So you're doing, so you're working with Brett. So you saw that whole sort of like it's so sad. She used to write for the fucking Dolly Parton show. I mean, like her, like.
That's right.
I mean, like it's it's really interesting. Like, because a lot of people don't know about people who are, what their life is. Like you remember, I was going to tell you, I just interviewed, remember John Ridley? The black dude.
Yes.
He did comedy for like 6 or 7 years in New York when we started.
Yes.
And then he just won the Academy Award for 12 Years a Slave.
Yes.
Screenplay. But he used to be a comic. He never talks about that.
Every time I see that name, this is how stupid I am. I go, is that the comic, John Ridley?
Right.
It is.
Right. So I finally interviewed him just the other day, and I'm like, I remember you. I remember his jokes. He had smart jokes, great jokes.
Yeah,
and he just he just shut that part out of his, the resume, out of his brain,
Yeah, childhood trauma.
It really.
Chalk it up to that race.
Yeah, but he's doing okay.
I guess the hell.
He won an Academy Award.
It did, right?
Yeah. So, all right, so you do the Brett thing. You're out in L.A. What was the Tony Danza thing?
How did that even come about? I don't know.
It seemed to make sense to me.
It was Katie Face Production is the name of his company.
Yeah.
And before that, I got a deal. Do you remember a guy named Bill Gross that worked for the William Morris Agency?
I do remember him.
He was overqualified to be like a showbiz agent.
Right.
Because he was like a financial whiz or something.
Right.
But I'm with him for 5 minutes. He gets me a deal for $75,000.
Doing
I don't remember with who. Newcastle or whatever the fuck. It didn't turn into anything.
Yeah.
Steve Paymer, David Paymer, the actor.
Paymer, I love that guy.
Yeah. Well, Steve Paymer, his brother, wrote a great script for me.
Yeah.
It was going to be like a Giuliani mayor, and I'm a childhood friend who runs his fleet of limos and shit. And
that's great.
It was a great story. Anyways, it goes nowhere. But I got to check out of that.
Right.
And then I don't even remember how the Katie Face production thing. They might have saw me up at Montreal.
Right.
But I ended up going to Tony Danza's house and sitting on the couch with Tony drinking Heinekens.
Yeah.
And he's telling me how much he made on Who's the Boss and how much it made the network. And he's in his softball uniform. He just came back from the bat. And I loved the guy. He was so personable. He couldn't have been nicer.
Yeah.
And then I had an audition. That went nowhere. And about a year later, I had an audition for another show he was making. And I had to read with him.
Yeah.
And I guess I was like nervous because halfway through the read, he goes like this and wipes my face. And somebody said that's what they do to make you comfortable.
Oh,
like, you got something on your face. He goes like this.
He licked his thumb and wiped your face?
Licked his thumb and wiped my cheek like I had some. And somebody told me, he
that's his trick?
Yeah, to put you at ease.
That's interesting.
And I was like,
wrong guy.
Put me at ease.
Wrong guy.
Christ, I go,
his face. What the fuck's this guy doing? I want out of this.
Yeah, Tony. So I was at his house, and this beautiful house, drinking Heinekens with Tony. This is the shit that's cool. I mean, you sort of take it for granted, you know. I put that in the rearview mirror 2 seconds after it happened. What's next?
Right.
Now I look back on it, I go, dude, come on, that was kind of cool.
Right.
My wife has been in love with Tony Danza since she was 10.
Right.
To this day.
Yeah.
I had to go take her to see his one-man show a couple years ago.
Oh, here? The cabaret show?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it cost me like $550. After that show, I go, it was good, Tony, but Jesus Christ, it cost me half a nickel. He's laughing. My wife gets a picture with him.
Yeah, that was
she
great.
still loves Tony Dan to this day. It's the funniest thing. And, so in 95, I just met my now wife.
Yeah.
We were just dating. And I go, I'm moving back to L.A. Christine, David, Marmy told me to go out there.
Yeah.
And she follows me out. I go, you can come out. I'm not promising it. We just met. Mm-hmm. She fucking comes out. Goddamn, thank God she came out because, again, I didn't know anybody out there.
Right.
I had her over all the, you know.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, she's decorating my apartment. And my wife I never had a chance looking back.
Yeah.
Never had a fucking chance.
Yeah, that was the one. She decided.
She saw me on HBO Young Comedian Special and said to her sisters, I'm marrying that guy.
Wow.
And then she saw me on Jon Stewart's talk show, and I was plugging a date at Caroline. She came into Caroline's.
Which Young Comedian Special were you on?
The one shot in black and white in the 1850s. The one with Dana Carvey hosted. Janine was on it.
Oh.
Listen to this lineup, Mark.
Spade, Janine,
Kindler? Not Spade.
Oh.
Kindler.
Yeah.
Kindler, me, Janine, Judd Apatow, Ray Romano, Bill Bellamy.
Bill Bellamy.
And
right.
And Dana Carvey was the host.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Me and Kindler are fighting it out for last place. I think he pulled ahead of me with all his Letterman spots.
I don't know. Where's Bill Bellamy?
Bill Bellamy, he had a stretch of movies, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird how it all happens. But, you know, the difference, though, is when we're sitting here talking, is that we've clearly mentioned a couple of guys where, like, they disappeared. And the weird thing is that the real dudes, the ones that can't help themselves, they find a way.
Yes.
You know, you find a way.
Yes, you do.
And you know, hopefully it's not too embarrassing.
You know, it's a good point.
You know what I mean?
Good
it's
point.
like, hopefully you can live with it, or you're delusional enough to think that everything's okay.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Fucking
it's
crazy.
It's been good to me.
No,
this business
definitely
has been good to me.
No,
and it still is.
Yeah, and people, you know, respect you and like you. And Louis, like, I love when, you know, like Louis uses you in the show all the time.
And he doesn't have to do that.
No, but it's a friendship.
And you don't have to interview me.
Yeah, it's
Seriously.
a friendship. No, we go way back. I mean, way back, dude.
Yeah, Louis is
25
generous.
years already.
This business has a lot of generous people in it.
Oh, it's a real, like, when you come up with people and you have relationships with people, I don't know any better people. And the thing about it is, it's not like normal life. It's like, you know, it's almost like we were all in the same war together. And when we see each other, they're like, holy shit.
I remember when you lost that arm.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's a bad night. Bad night. You doing all right? Grew back. Look at that. You got your arm back. That's right.
You were holding the mic with the other hand for like 4 years.
Yeah, it was your hook. It's almost sad it grew back. Yeah.
No, it's been very good. Look, 2 weekends ago, 3 weekends ago, I was at the Ridgefield Playhouse.
Yeah.
It's in Connecticut.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful venue. 350 people paid $30-something to see me.
Yeah. Yeah. Good show?
It's my favorite show.
Yeah.
And I told him next time I shoot something, I don't care if it's an expensive place, I'm shooting at that theater. It was fucking beautiful. People in the balcony. It was full down the bus.
Coming to see you.
Coming to see me.
Yeah.
They paid and you know, and they listen. No waitresses, no, you know, the theater's how nice it is.
Right.
They're hanging on every punch. Shit, I mumble under my breath. A tagline. They catch that.
It's the best.
It was so, and I was home by 11:15.
Yeah.
And I get paid for what I get paid to do a club for a week. You know?
It's the best.
I mean, I can't complain.
But do you have that moment?
And I do anyways.
With it, like, now that I'm doing, like, bigger venues, I'm still nervous about it. But, like, when you start doing door deals at comedy clubs and you realize this is what these fuckers were making when I was starting out. Like, I remember when I was headlining comedy clubs and no one knew me and I was making $1,500 for a Wednesday through Sunday. I'm like, I did it. I made it.
Yeah.
And then you do a door deal and like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You mean 20 years ago were these fuckers doing that?
I know.
And then you wonder, like, why, well, that guy's still on the road. Yeah, because he's doing door deals. He's making a fortune.
Yeah. I wish I was. That's all I want out of Mark. That's all I want at this point. I want stand-up is still. I hate the flying and all that shit.
Yeah.
But being on stage, it's as fun now, if not more, than it was. I don't know how many jobs you can say about that than it was when I first started.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
But I just want to put asses in the seats at this point.
That's what it really comes down to.
That's all I want to do.
Yeah.
And like I said, that Ridgefield thing just reinforces that experience I had. My second, I was there a year before.
Well, it's beautiful now because you got the podcast, and you got visibility, and Howard loved you, and and the thing is, you do have people that like you, and they come. It's just getting them there and getting the gig, and
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
I think what's interesting interesting about you is a lot of people don't know this, and we know it because like your public personality, once you decided to be completely opinionated, might alienate people,
Sure.
But you have your people, and I know you like to alienate people. But like I still know you, and Louis still knows you. Like you're a sweet guy, you're a good-hearted guy, and you wrote for Chris Rock. I mean, I don't think people realize that. That the difference between an act and the difference, what you're doing and how aware you are of it.
Well, I'm not even, and I look, sometimes you have to do shit to get noticed.
Yeah.
I noticed, everybody thinks one way politically in this business.
Right.
I'm going to swim upstream.
Right.
Sometimes bad publicity is good publicity.
Mm-hmm.
And the tough crowd experience was good and bad for me.
Right.
It got me noticed.
Right.
And there's a lot of people who think like me, and they still do.
Right.
But like you said, we live in a time where, to be an opinionated white male,
right?
Shut your mouth and swim with us.
Oh, a little bit though, but I understand that point of view. But I think that when it comes down to doing comedy, that on your best night, you're talking to a crowd that likes you, and you're having a good time. You're not up there just spewing anger,
right?
You know what I mean?
I went through that phase.
It was scary phrase. I frankly, there was a period there. I think it happened to a lot of guys, right after 9/11. Like everything sort of snapped into place.
That's a good point.
And the anger, had a depth to it, and it kind of unleashed a thing. But you were kind of scary for a couple of years.
Oh, maybe. Nobody will tell you though.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Nobody.
Well, that's because we're comics.
Quinn will. Colin Quinn's my best friend in this business.
Yeah.
And when he would hint, it's like having like your family member finally sit you down or whatever. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So he's like a father figure.
Yeah.
That's when I started going.
What did he say?
Shit. Well, I'm afraid he goes. Some of the, I'd have meltdowns at the Comedy Cellar.
Yeah.
A lot.
Right.
And he goes, I'm just afraid that'll come back to bite you in the ass.
Yeah.
Eventually or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of knew that myself. But
right.
It's fun to walk that, see how far I can go.
Right.
Part of it, you know what I mean?
But you said the booze will make it worse.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm not like, I didn't drink like David Tell did in his prime or whatever, or Artie Lang.
No, but you just one of those, like when I drank, you get, something else turns on.
Like they say, and you probably know this from rehab, but it's not how much, it's what it does to you.
Yeah.
How it changes you.
Yeah.
And I'm not blaming it on that because I'm not a fall down drunk, but
right.
I actually, Noam, the guy who runs the Comedy Cellar now, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, he goes, look, you know how me and my father loved how you stick your thumb in the eye of political correctness. But he goes, you're even making it hard on us now. And you know what? I didn't argue one point of his. I said, you're right. There's some nights I leave here feeling bad.
Yeah.
How I turn the room into
Yeah.
I feel bad about driving home, what I did or whatever.
Right.
That's how I know it's not right.
Right.
I have since sort of like kept distance from that room.
Right.
Just to give them a break.
Right.
He wasn't going to suspend me, but he's got a lot of angry emails.
Yeah. Isn't that weird though, that whole, because I do that, like there's a couple reasons that happens where you actually feel bad. You knew that, that you did something.
Oh yeah.
Fucked up. And it's a real feeling. And like I get it now. Sometimes I get it where like, when you're doing a room and you hear where the laugh is and you're not going to get higher than that.
Yeah.
Like it's level.
Yeah.
It's just the audience. It's not even anything you said. But there's part of you that's sort of like, well, I'm going to have to push harder. You want the reaction one way or the other.
That's right.
You want to connect. You want to wake them the fuck up or
right.
do something.
Right.
Like sometimes when I'm bombing, or not bombing, but not doing as well as I want, I won't get off stage. I'll stay up there for 2 fucking hours because the one thing I don't want them to leave saying is like,
he's a quitter.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, all right, so this is where you're going to be? Then I'm just going to stay up here and at least get your money's worth of something. But there is that feeling where, you crossed the line. You're like, fuck. And then you sort of like, there's something about that weird guilt or self-hating thing that, like, it happens a lot. It's kind of compelling. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's the way we feel better about ourselves. I don't fucking know what the fuck it is.
I knew something was wrong when I got an apartment on the Upper East Side right before I moved to L.A. and here in New York.
Yeah.
Nick's Diner was right across the street in the corner.
Yeah.
I used to eat breakfast. My first week in the apartment, I go over there to have breakfast.
Yeah.
Waitress, she goes, "Are you a comedian?" And I go, "Yeah." I go, "How'd you know that?" She goes, "You call me a cunt at the Comedy Cellar like a couple months ago." Oh, no. I go, "Don't spit in my eggs. Please don't spit in my."
Was she? Did you?
She laughed about it. Yeah. I go, "Look."
Yeah.
I go, there's no way to apologize. I go, but yeah, that's happened more than you realize. It's more common. It's not
don't
just
spit in my eggs.
Don't spit in my eggs, please. But but now, like my last hour I put out, I was never
Another Sense Was Killing.
Yeah, Another Sense Was Killing. Go to nickdip.com. It's selling well, man.
Good.
Thanks to I went out to L.A. did Carolla, Rogan, and Fitzy, but it's selling well.
Good.
And on that, I was never a political comic. But like Colin Quinn, and I've said this on every podcast I've been interviewed on. Quinn said it best. He goes, "No, you're not a political comic." He goes, "But Nick, you could be telling a joke, a McDonald's joke, and people know how you voted."
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So I am not a political comic. But,
is your parents still around?
Yeah.
How'd they feel about everything?
Well, it's kind of sad. My dad was just like diagnosed with Alzheimer's like last December. He'll be 80 in October, and he's happy. But he tells me now how proud he is. He never did. You know what I mean?
Isn't that interesting? They get softer and they get
Yeah.
So the Alzheimer's, he says it and then he claims not to remember.
Exactly. I go, can you recite one of my jokes now?
Yeah.
He and my dad was the funny guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing. People ask my influence. I used to watch him riffing at a cookout with my parents' friends.
Yeah.
My parents' friends would be doubled over.
Oh, yeah? What did he do?
He would just, what
was his job?
Oh, he was a business controller. My uncle owns a very successful machine shop, tool and die. Yeah. My father's the bookkeeper.
Oh, yeah.
So,
he was a funny guy.
He was the funny guy. And I used to see him riffing and making these people double over. Even, he always had funny cracks watching TV. But he always laughed at shit that was inappropriate.
Right.
He always found the dark. I tell a story about on Another Sense Was Killing. We're at McDonald's, we're kids. I'm probably 8 years old in the back of a station wagon. The whole family's packed in there. Yeah. Like an old lady came out with a tray and she slipped on some ice and fell. And my father's laughing his balls. He went out and helped her up.
Right.
That's my dad. He was belly laughing before he got out of the car and helped her.
And she was all right.
And we're all pointing and laughing, just following his lead.
Well, it's funny when it's fake. And why wouldn't it be funny if it happens in reality?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
So he was my dad. This stuff. So he'll be 80. And my mother's like 78.
And they're proud though. They.
My dad
did all right. They're happy when you make a living. I think most of the time they're worried.
No, exactly. And I'm living in a nice house in Westchester. I mean, it could have been worse.
Dude.
Right?
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it. It's like it can get really heartbreaking and sad. And you and I have both been through that. This is the one thing that there's not many people that don't who don't pay their dues that get really big and hold it. But
right.
and we've all had hardships. But they're the sort of the rejection and heartbreak of having those moments where, you really don't know if it's going to work out.
Yes.
Like at our age, because I had that when I started the podcast where you're like, I can't, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Are we going to enter the job market at 45, 46? There's nothing.
I still have this conversation.
You do?
Yeah. I mean, I'm 53. And,
yeah.
It's like I said, thank God for gigs like Ridgefield shoot that energy back into me.
Yeah.
And my podcast is going, I've only been doing it 2 years, and it's always in the top.
It's great.
On iTunes.
Yeah.
And I still, I still love radio, and I got people working on it. I really think that's where I'm going to end up.
Well, you don't have to go to radio and just keep elevating the podcast.
Well, yeah.
Maybe what you do
You're
is
the only one that's figured out how to monetize.
Yeah. Well, well, you can monetize. It's just about numbers.
But everybody, I always say this because, my web guy would be pointing to Joe Rogan and Adam Carolla. I go, they were famous before they had their podcast.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah.
I go, Maron is the best example of a...
Yeah. Didn't know, yeah.
Well,
no one knew me.
You'll teach me how to monetize it.
Well, no, I can't tell you that. But, what I was thinking, though, is that maybe you get to a point where you can have some sort of situation in the city where you drive down to interview people.
But you think the key is having...
No. I don't think so. The key is really just, figuring out who the hell knows how of getting people to the goddamn thing.
That's right.
There's still a lot of people don't even know how to do. It's like some big fucking question. Like podcast. How the hell do you? What do you mean? Turn your computer on. You have a computer? You fucking idiot.
I know. It's getting easier every year to find.
And it ultimately will become easier. But yeah, we can talk about that. But I'm glad you're doing all right, and thanks for talking to me.
Are you kidding me? It's just like I said, man. I'm really impressed that you did it with the podcast.
Yeah, I know. It's a good one time in my life I had good timing, career-wise. You don't know how the hell that's. It's the one thing no one can manufacture. You see a lot of talented guys. You're like, why the fuck didn't that happen?
Yeah.
It's like because the shit didn't line up. The thing that we don't have any control over is sometimes the thing that's going to turn.
That's right.
I just happened to get in. I had a certain capacity for radio, and it was just at the beginning of this thing. And, my show grew with the medium. Like, no one, it was, there was a few guys doing it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like a thing.
Yeah.
And it just turned around.
Yeah, well, I mean, a zillion people are doing it, so you got
That's
something.
Right,
Seriously.
Right.
I keep feeling like career-wise, I feel like I'm on the old Let's Make a Deal show. I keep picking the wrong curtain.
Yeah, I know. Oh, the cow.
Wah, wah, wah. 4,000 cans of dog food. Wah, wah, wah.
But you seem better personally, which is good.
Yeah, I am.
You got a little peace of mind.
I got a wife that sort of smooths me out,
Yeah.
and keeps my anger in check, and
yeah,
she goes, don't call him back and leave that message. You're going to cost yourself 20 gigs.
20 gigs. I don't want you sitting around the house.
I have tweets, Mark. I've had tweets where my finger's an inch from the button.
Yeah.
I could commit showbiz suicide if I hit this tweet.
Yeah. And she goes, what are you doing?
I'm like a suicidal guy with a gun to his head. Go ahead, I'll pull this fucking.
Right.
Say one more word, you'll be living back in that one bedroom in Queens.
Yeah, she has like parental controls on your computer.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm like a child who wants to see porn.
Well, it's great seeing you, man.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it, brother.